Hey up everyone, I am your host, Steph the Alter Nerd, and welcome to the Zero to Success podcast, the series where I dive deep into the minds of YouTube's most intriguing content creators. Our guests open up about the realities of being in the YouTube world, and in each episode we learn more about their personality away from the camera. In this week's episode, I am joined by Revealing the Narc, so grab your snacks, hold on to your butts, and let's dive in, shall we? Hey up everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Zero to Success podcast. I am joined by Revealing the Narc, and she's approaching nearly, my goodness, 14,000 subscribers. Congratulations, Revealing. I mean, you've done that in a very, very short space of time, haven't you?
It's amazing. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's interesting because I had my channel, I started it end of August. I hit 10,000 on December 28th. So there potentially, if I can hit 15,000 by the end of this month, that means it took me 4 months to get to 10,000, but then only a month to get another 5,000.
yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
It's absolutely insane, and this is one of the reasons why I actually invited you onto this podcast, because you have shown, in terms of your own YouTube channel, a very, very quick kind of increase in your subscribers. I mean, within like half a year, you're going, and I'm sure of it, you're going to hit 15,000 subscribers. And so, just for the audience at home, can you just explain a little bit about what your channel is all about?
Sure. Where to begin? I grew up around a lot of narcissists, and my stepmom is a malignant narcissist. And then after that, I married a narcissist. So I've had relationships, romantic, familial, friend, professional, that I've gathered a lot of, I don't know what you call it. Like I can read the body language, the facial expressions, and the words that are used. As a child, I needed to learn about these things so I can navigate, and be, in quotation marks, safe. So a couple of months ago, I started watching stuff about Harry and Meghan, and Meghan really reminds me of my malignant narcissist stepmom. She makes the same facial expressions and everything. And then at the same time, I had a friend and I would tell her Megan is a malignant narcissist, and she'll be like, please prove it to me. Create a channel, create an X account, anything where I can just scroll through and see this evidence that you talk about. So I started with X, and I would put up all the clips of Megan that apparently a lot of people hadn't noticed or hadn't seen. And from that, I launched my YouTube. Initially, my X took off a lot faster than my YouTube. In fact, I never thought that my YouTube subscribers would be more than my X account, but it really has just taken off.
Yeah, and it's taken off to the point where you're expanding, aren't you? You mentioned that you've got a second channel in the works.
Yes, in addition to loving the analysis and studying Megan, I also really love true crime. I had an idea to start the true crime a long time ago, but last week I was watching an episode of 2020, and that's a true crime series here in the States. I don't know if you have it over there. And in this one episode, the mother was clearly either a narcissist or like one of those cluster B personalities. So that was immediate content for me. I was like, okay, I can easily turn what happened in this episode into into content, and also create teachable moments from it, because usually when I've talked about narcissists before, it's been in a romantic setting because I've talked about Meghan and Harry. But in this particular episode, it was a mother-daughter issue that was happening. So, and a lot of people have asked, like, can you talk more about what it's like having narcissists as parents? So it just was perfect timing, really. And yeah. that led to the creation of Revealing the Crime. And I'm hoping today to put out my first video.
Mm. Well, I'll make sure that both your links to both channels are in the description bar below to this podcast. But yeah, revealing, with that being said, let's grab our snacks, hold on to all of our butts, and let's dive in to, first up, content creation. And so, we've been talking about, a lot of content before we even started really the official Zero to Success podcast questions. You mentioned, one of your inspiration sources for your second channel that you're going to be starting shortly. Was that, what was it, 2020 program? Because no, we don't have that in the UK. But how do you come up with new content ideas, and where does other inspirations come from for you?
This is a very timely question because last night I was in bed and I had a complete what writer's block. Sometimes, so I find myself sometimes I have a lot of ideas, and sometimes they're just not coming to me in that moment. And I think when I'm in those places where I'm having quote unquote writer's block, to just relax because I know new content, new ideas are going to come my way, and I've learned I don't need to put a video out or content out if I don't feel passionate about it. I don't want to put something out just for the purpose of putting something out because I feel like that energy, the audience can kind of feel that, you know? So I didn't pressure myself into putting anything out last night, and I didn't. And today's a new day. And yeah, I mean, I just let the ideas come to me. One of the things I have learned though, particularly with Harry and Meghan, is initially I would just cover the old things that have happened, and my in my thoughts I was like, okay, when new things happen, there are so many other content creators that are working on the new stuff. I won't get so much attention, so I'm just not going to talk about the new stuff. But actually, in my experience, that's not how it's worked. In fact, when something new comes out with Harry and Meghan, some type of appearance or anything like that, I should put everything else aside and work on the new thing because that has, I think, caused the most traffic, which I didn't think it would because I thought, okay, everyone, all these other content creators are talking about it. And I also try to think a little bit outside of the box. Like, okay, I know that other content creators are going to talk about this or that. What can I do that's a little bit different from everybody else? I
And
can give you an example of one that I did.
yeah, go for
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So the one that comes to mind is earlier this month, Megan released the trailer for her With Love Megan Netflix show. And I knew a lot of people are going to talk about what's happening in the trailer. And I also did that too. I had one video where I just did a big overview. But then I thought, how can I approach this from my personal experience? What is it that I can bring to the table that would be different? And I wanted to focus on every single word that was said in the trailer. And that's what I did. And that video has been one of the most popular videos I've ever had.
And that's the trick. When you start YouTube, it's not about reinventing the wheel per se, because whatever niche you choose, there's going to be hundreds, thousands, of channels that are going to be discussing the same niche. The trick is, what what unique element can you bring to that niche? Can you bring to the table, which will essentially earn a click, earn that view, earn that subscriber kind of situation. And so for you, yeah, in terms of your analytical nature, where you're able to hone in terms of what's said and the body language, that kind of thing, and the way that you present it, that is what I would say is your unique selling point, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
So you mentioned earlier on about writer's blocks. And so as YouTubers, yes, we do encounter many, many challenges on our YouTube journey. And those challenges do not stop. They keep coming and coming. For you, up to date, what has been the biggest challenge that you faced in your YouTube journey, and how did you actually overcome it?
The biggest challenge. Okay. When I first started, I was very nervous about my identity being out there because in my professional life, I work and there's this negative connotation almost with people that don't like Megan. Um, and I didn't want to be associated with that, and I still don't want to be associated with that. So I started off using an AI voice. It was terrible. Okay. It was terrible, but somehow I was still able to get a couple of subscribers. I think I got maybe 2 to 300. And finally, one of my friends was like, just use your voice. And I remember, I think it was HG Tutor. I think he's the one that said it. I'm not sure. But he said something like, if people are recognizing your voice, you don't need a job. Like everything is good for you. So I just, kind of bit the bullet and showed my like revealed my actual voice. And I think that has been a game changer because, when people watch YouTube videos, they're taking in video content and they're also listening to your voice. The voice is a very important part of it. So you need to make sure your audio sounds good and that your voice doesn't. I mean, my AI voice was terrible. So I think that was one of my biggest challenges. And it was, I feel like, a pretty courageous thing to do.
Absolutely. And it is said that audio is more important than visual when it comes to online content. So I definitely agree with that. And so on the flip side of things, I say that audio is more important than visual because, to this day, I still have, challenges in terms of, my audio and trying to get that right. I'm still, tweaking it, trying to get it better, all that malarkey. And so for you, putting yourself out there, of course, you're going to get a lot of support. But there's also going to be that element where, there's trolls, people being nasty, that kind of thing. So, how do you deal with all of that? How do you deal with all those negative comments and criticism that you'll be getting online?
I mean, it's hard. Like it's definitely hard. And you were the first person I asked about that when we had our first live stream. And you know what you told me? You told me think of them as dollar signs.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are attracting attention and engagement. So I try to look at it that way. And then other times I combat what they're saying with logic because I know that what I'm saying, to me, it's the truth. The way that I analyze Megan in my eyes and on my experience, I see a mask slip there. So people can come attack me for and call me names or whatever, but that doesn't negate what I'm seeing with my eyes and hearing with my ears. And then also someone once told me you need to be in therapy and I was like, "Well, who doesn't?" Okay? Like
I've been in therapy in the past for years.
yeah,
I'm proud of it. I
honestly.
don't care. It's fair enough, right?
Yeah,
But
same.
yeah, but yeah, definitely, you think of those trolls, you think about the nasty kind of element from like the online world. Yeah, just think of them as dollar signs because ultimately, they're still watching you. Even though the comments aren't great, that's still classed as interaction, which YouTube loves, regardless whether they hate watching or not. So it's all powering you, your channel, your community, and ultimately your success. And so when you do engage with your audience, how do you engage with them? And how do you manage to create a community around your channel that ensures that they come back to you time and time again?
This is one of the most beautiful things that I've experienced along this journey is that community. And Up until when I think you need to have 1,000 subscribers before you can have live streams. But the live streams are that's where you build the community, I feel. And I do I mean it all depends on everyone's style, how they want to engage. Some people do live streams where they are, showing the latest information and just talking about it. What I do in my live streams is I ask my audience questions, and they're funny questions. So I want to make from in that's my style, like I just want to engage with them, ask them funny questions, and just have a really good laugh. I find I have regulars now, and I have regulars that are all around the world. So I also try to accommodate that by having live streams at different times of day to make sure that the audience is able to attend. It's really such an amazing experience. And again, Steph, you're the one that told me about that. You were telling me you have to do the live streams. There's nothing like it. And it's true. There's really nothing like it.
Yeah, and I was there for your first live stream on your own channel, and you were just a natural. You just slotted right in. It was just such a privilege and wonder to see you spread your wings even more on YouTube and jump into the live streams. But you're right, it's the best opportunity ever to strengthen and build your community because you're interacting with them in real time. And that kind of interaction, you can't get anywhere else other than a live stream. And so when we go a little bit more behind the camera and we look at, let's say, the technical aspects of all of this, what would be, let's say, your top 3 tips when it comes to the video production process, anywhere between finding the idea to uploading the video or, let's say, going live? What would be your top 3 tips for that kind of process?
Okay, so I think the most critical thing is, like we were just saying, audio. Because my first few live streams, my audio was terrible. And I want to thank everyone that stuck around for the live stream. I mean, just think about like when we watch a live stream or any other video, if the audio's not great, we'll shut it off, right? I mean, at least that's how I am. I want to be able to hear it. So that's number one. Like try to check out your own audio, make sure that it sounds good. And so Steph, I took your recommendation and I started with OBS. I had a really This is just my personal experience and not everyone's like this, but I was very intimidated with OBS. And because I was intimidated, I found myself hesitating to have the live streams. I had a lot of anxiety going into the live streams. So I think it's important. So I guess number one is audio. Number two is pick a program or software or something that you feel comfortable working with because there's already anxiety just knowing that you're going to go on live and talk to all these people. You don't want the added anxiety of feeling you may not be able to navigate the software that you're using. And then the third thing I do to prepare is what am I going to talk about? So like I try to find maybe one news article that might be interesting to my audience. And if that doesn't work, like is there anything else I want to talk about? And I know that in every single live stream, I want that question and answer session. So I'll brainstorm what it is that I want to ask. I mean, it's very for me, I don't just walk into a live stream. There's a lot of preparation that's happening behind the scenes because I want to make sure my audience is interested and engaged.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. And, if you do want to try OBS again, then I'm more than happy to, behind the scenes, go on to another Zoom conversation with you and show you how to navigate it and set it all up. I use OBS myself. It's completely free. And yes, it is a steep learning curve when you first start to use it. But essentially, once it's all set up, it is intuitive. It is so easy. I definitely recommend that if anyone's using OBS Studio, that they use it in conjunction with the Elgato Stream Deck because then all you have to do is on OBS Studio, you just click start streaming, then click start streaming on your YouTube studio back page kind of situation. And then from there, all you're doing is talking to the camera through to the audience. And then on your stream deck, you're just pressing these buttons and they're just then changing the screens for you. And so, yeah, if you've got any time revealing later on, I'll be more than happy to show you a little bit more around OBS and maybe make it a little bit more familiar to you because, yeah, you do have other programs that you can use, such as, let's say, StreamYard, but that's something that you've got to pay on a monthly basis or a yearly basis if you pay once a year. And for me, yes, it's very easy to use, very intuitive, brilliant, right? But why pay for something when you can get it for free somewhere else? It just takes a little bit more work to get used to, but once you've got the hang of it, it's amazing. Do you see where I'm coming from there, hon?
Yes, absolutely. And I completely agree. I completely agree.
Now, when it comes to equipment, my goodness, part of my top 3 would be the Elgato Stream Deck. Like, hands down, I could not live without that thing. For you, though, apart from the camera and the mic, which are like the obvious ones, of course, what would be in your top 3 when it comes to the equipment that you use?
For live streams, equipment that I
Well,
use,
for
I
live
don't.
streams or just for normal videos, hon.
Most of my videos that are not live streams, I create on my phone, and I mean, I guess I just use different softwares to edit the videos, particularly because I focus on Megan's body language and facial expressions. I use a lot of software that might clarify the video a little bit so that you can see the images better. So I guess I would say my phone is the next piece of equipment. Yeah, I can't think of anything else really.
What programs do you use on your phone?
I um I don't know if I want to say that.
Okay, no, that's absolutely
Yeah.
fine. Trade secrets. Swiftly moving on then. So we were discussing earlier on about your channel growth and in less than 6 months you are well on your way to getting to 15,000 subscribers, which by the way, congratulations again. It's absolutely amazing to see your YouTube channel lift off. With that being said, during this whole period where you've just seen your channel go like this, amazingly so, what key strategies and methods have you found to be the most effective for growing your YouTube channel at such a fast and extreme rate?
What strategy, I feel like I've just had a lot of luck. Um, I think I perhaps satisfied a niche that someone else hadn't yet. And because of that, I was able to network. So I think networking is key. It really, really opens the doors. And I mean, really, I feel like my really big growth and definitely the growth spurts I've had have happened after I've had a collab. So that's really, really important, I feel. Building these relationships with other content creators and also, to build relationships with other content creators, you want to respect their time too. So like for example, um, I know when the content creators I watch that are in the same niche, I know what time they do their live streams. I will never schedule something that conflicts with that, right? It's just respect. And yeah, I feel like for me that's been the biggest thing. Um and I persistence, that's also it too because there are going to be days when like last night when I had no ideas. And it's just recognizing that that's okay. It's gonna come. Megan creates a lot of content. So, um, yeah, and just hanging on to the wins as long as you can. I see some of my tweets end up on really big names on their channels, and I see some of my video clips on these big channels, and it's just trying to hold on to the joy of that success amid, when you're in kind of the low valleys.
Well, yeah, persistence is definitely key. And yeah, collabing is like one of the big ones, to get yourself out there to a bigger audience so that they also know of your existence and what your channel is all about. So, overall, on the YouTube platform, what would you consider is the best thing about this whole kind of scene being on YouTube and whatnot?
You mean all of the content creators on YouTube or just YouTube in general?
Just YouTube in general. What's the best thing about YouTube for you?
What's the best thing? I just love being able to create and have people enjoy the things that I've created. It's very satisfying, especially for me when I'm talking about experiences I've had in my life. And, when you're around narcissists, you're invalidated a lot. So there's a lot of validation that comes from people saying, wow, this was so helpful. Wow, this opened my eyes to something else. It's just, I don't know, it's a great feeling. And it's really opened up a community for me too. It's really amazing.
Yeah. A place where you belong and, everyone else belongs in terms of what you like to talk about. Other people like to hear about it and enter the conversation. And it makes the whole thing much more fruitful, much more beautiful as well in that manner. On the flip side of things, though, what's the worst thing about YouTube?
What's the worst thing? I I have a couple. Is it okay if I say a couple?
Go nuts.
Okay, well, obviously seeing the negative comments, that hurts. Okay, like that really hurts, and we just have to remember that this is not something personal. People have different perspectives and that's okay. So that's that. The next thing that I worry about in terms of copyright, like I'm worried about when I make content about a copyright strike. I haven't had one, and I try when I do share things to abide by the fair use rules where I'm providing commentary or providing a news source. But I'm just nervous about saying the wrong thing or showing the wrong thing. And then the next part of that is saying keywords that might be flagged by YouTube. So, for example, the new channel I've opened, Revealing the Crime, I don't know what kinds of words are going to get flagged. So, I'm trying to use language that may not be, I don't want to get flagged for going against YouTube rules.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is an element on YouTube whereby if you do say the wrong word by their standards, they're essentially going to either limit or demonetize that whole kind of video in the first place. And when they do that, it can be quite demoralizing because you've put all that effort behind the scenes to come up with the idea and execute it. For them then to turn around and say, oh, you said the wrong word that offends our sensibilities. So we're going to limit the amount that you earn from that video, or worse still, completely demonetize the whole thing. Yeah, that can be a little bit, say a little bit, that can be a major letdown. I suppose when it comes to your second channel, Revealing the Crime, some of the words to, I would say, avoid to not offend YouTube's sensibilities are things like, death, suicide, murdered, abuse, torture, that kind of thing. Even though that sounds really, really, really insane to be like, avoid these words, that's just YouTube in a nutshell, really, when it comes to that side of things. There are words, unfortunately, that we have to avoid saying on a video or on a live stream because if it offends YouTube sensibilities, it also offends the advertisers that advertise on YouTube. And so, yeah, that's a side of YouTube I don't think a lot of the audience actually understands or knows about. that as content creators, we are kind of limited in terms of our language of what we can say because of YouTube's rules around it and who they'll advertise on and who they won't, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, with that being said on that bombshell, guys, that is it for this episode to the Zero to Success podcast. I'd like to thank my good friend Revealing the Narc for joining me on this episode. Please do make sure you subscribe to her, firstly on a brand new channel, Revealing the Crime. Revealing, when is the first video going to be released on this?
I'm hoping in the next couple hours. It's going to be very exciting. I did realize, though, that I used the word murder on it. So, fingers crossed. But it is the first video. So, everything, and that's another lesson to take away, everything is a learning experience.
Absolutely. And, just like your main channel, you'll learn as you'll go along with the second one, which, with that being said, also make sure you are subscribed to Revealing on her main channel, Revealing the Narc. I'll make sure that both channels are in the description bar below. With that being said, again, thank you so much to Revealing for joining me. Make sure you stay tuned to the Zero to Success after show, where Revealing and I are going to have some more fun. So make sure you tune into that. Thank you so much, though, for watching this video and this podcast. Appreciate all your faces. Until the next time, you guys. Laters.